Hey guys, how's it going? Let's- Hey, how's it going?
Yo,
How's your day been so far?
it has been great. I mean,
That-
markets were down huge, but I've been looking forward to this, so it's been better.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I got all my homework done, ready to go.
Right on.
All right.
Hello,
Well,
everybody.
yeah, let's just get right into it in the basic stuff. So, how
Right.
long have you been investing for, and like what age did you start investing at?
I started investing. Well, when I was a little kid, my mom, I would go to McDonald's. Hey, what's up? I would go to McDonald's with my mom, like once a week after school for like an after school snack. And one day she was like, you can own McDonald's. And I was like, I can what? And she was like, you can buy stock. You can own stock in McDonald's. Um, and so that got me on the path very early on as an investor. And then after that, I invested. In WWE because I'm a huge wrestling fan when they went public in like the late 90s. And after that, Apple in 2003. So I've been investing since I was a teenager. I would say teenager.
Oh,
Um,
no,
yeah.
perfect.
So
And
doing it for a while.
yeah, and then a couple of my followers were wondering, what would are you like a long-term investor or a swing trader, or do you kind of do a mixture of both?
It's both. The reason that I trade stocks is because I don't want a real job. Like I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want to have to be someone's employee. I don't want a quota. I don't want to get yelled at for not hitting my sales or whatever. So I trade stocks to pay the bills. But like any other job, the majority of my money after I've paid my condo fees and my health insurance and stuff, the majority of my money goes into my investments. So I trade to pay the bills. I invest for the long term. That's really where the long term wealth is made, through investing. And people have it sometimes a little twisted where they think it's is trading because of what they see on TikTok and Instagram with the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love one of those Lamborghinis, but they're way too much for me.
Me too. I'll get a used one
Yeah, definitely a lot cheaper.
for sure.
And then, um, do you invest in options at all? And then, what are some things that go into your decision-making process when you decide if you should just own shares of a company or do an options trade?
Sure. I don't really trade. I don't really trade options too frequently. In the past, when I have traded options, I almost always lose like 100%. They expire worthless.
Yeah.
So I have just not gotten into the habit of trading options. Lately, I've noticed some of these social media kind of hype stocks. They pump up and then they dump. So I have been buying some puts, to play the downside of these pumped up stocks. Um, but usually I'm all stocks, unless I wanted to buy like a leap option for something very long term. Maybe I couldn't afford a sizable position in terms of shares. But I'm mostly a stock guy, stock for investing and trading.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like that's what I do too. I tried options like one time with like $10 and it did not. I think I turned $10 into $1, and so
Yeah.
like the thought of like putting like hundreds of dollars, it blows my
It
mind.
makes me too nervous. Like, I'm okay to buy like one call or one put or whatever, but the thought of like something expiring worthless, and being stuck in it and losing 100%, stocks don't always go to zero, but your options almost always do if you don't get out in time, and they're not profitable. Then yeah, you almost always, if it's a losing trade, you're almost always going to lose 100% of your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when it comes to losers, do you have like a set like percentage in your mind? Like if you're in a stock and you're down a certain amount, or you just say I'm done.
Yeah, it mostly depends on the stock, because certain stocks can be more volatile than others. So once you know, like, hey, this stock tends to drop 5 or 6%, but then it always levels out and goes back up, why would I be getting out at 3% if I know that about that stock? Other times, generally speaking, I'm in the 7% camp when it comes to my stop losses. I don't even really set stop losses because I'm an active trader, but just like a mental stop loss, I'm going to get out if this thing gets below 7%. Usually that's when I pull the trigger and cut and take a loss. For investments, totally different story. I don't sell my investments when they're at a loss. I just buy more if I believe in them long term, you know.
Yeah, and then for like swing trades, like is there a certain like percentage that you try to get like out of it?
Like a profit percentage?
Yeah.
No, not really. I don't trade in terms of I mean, I know a lot of traders do trade in terms of profits, but I trade in or percentage, but I trade in terms of dollars. Because I have bills. Like I don't pay my bills in percentages. I pay them in dollars. So, you know, when I look at my trades, I know with this trade, for example, I need to make $200 on this trade. And the percentage can be different, right? Depending on the price of the stock, how many shares I own. So sometimes I do look at the percentage. If I'm like, for example, if I'm up 15 or 20% in something, then usually sometimes I'll consider taking the profit. But I also look at the technical analysis too, because just because it's up 15% doesn't mean that there isn't more potential to the upside. So before I ever sell anything, I always pull up a chart and look and go, yeah, I might be up 15%, but I think the stock could still continue to run for the next couple days. So then I wouldn't get out.
Yeah, my Riot blockchain portfolio has been absolutely wild over the past like week and a half.
Okay.
It's been like up 8%, down 7%, up 9%, and down like 10. It's been insane.
It's wild, but that's also like recognizing those patterns are you investing in Riot?
Oh, right now, I'm just doing it towards the end of the challenge. So basically, I'm betting on Bitcoin going up and then Riot blockchain going up with Bitcoin.
Okay, so you're mostly investing in yeah. Okay, so but noticing that the stock is up 8, down 8, up 8, down 8. Also, for new traders, even if they're not in the trade, they're recognizing a pattern, and that can also be really helpful for someone who's looking for a position to trade, right? Because when it's down 8% and then it goes up 8%, you can trade that. You can make 8% per trade. Every time it goes down 8%, you can get in. It goes up 8, you get out. You know, so that's also something to notice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've every time I've ever tried to like do that with a stock, like recently, not like all the time, but recently I've done that, and then like I'll buy in once it dips to where I want it to, and then just
right.
Yeah, but hey, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, what are your thoughts on like the current state of the market right now, given like the new COVID variant? Do you think we're like in a territory where people should be worried, or should we just kind of shrug it off like everything else that's happened in the last couple of years?
You know, I think it's one of those things where it's probably going to scare a lot of new investors away. I don't know if the markets are going to react now to these new variants like it did the very first time when COVID showed up and the markets dumped so hard, like it was in March, like a year or whatever ago. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe that we've sort of been accustomed now to, okay, there's a new strain. And as this continues, like there was regular COVID and then there was Delta and now there's this one. And I'm sure there's going to be another one. And unless like the science says like this one is really bad and mega deadly and the vaccines don't work and we have to go back into lockdown and we have to do all these things again. I don't think markets are going to react too wildly. But if you're a new investor, you know, these big down days like what we saw today because of this new variant and what we saw on Friday, even though it was a half day because of Thanksgiving, these are opportunities to add to a position, not panic and sell, unless you're trading something that's extremely risky. You're in like a penny stock or something, one of these kind of things. But I'm talking more in terms of investments. It's a great opportunity to add a little bit more to a position. And you never want to add everything that you have all at once, because you want to have some reserve capital in case, like you were asking, in case this is really a disaster. But I think it's too soon to tell in relation to this specific one. But there still are problems, right? COVID is still here. There are supply chain issues. There is this infrastructure bill. There's a lot of stuff that's happening right now that can cause uncertainty. There's a new president. I mean, he's not new right now. It's been a year, but still, like, new president always comes with new policies, and Wall Street tends to be a little bit more reserved in the beginning of a new presidency. So there's a lot happening. So they could all these factors could play a factor in bringing the markets down or up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depends.
And then, in your opinion, like, with the federal government, like, beginning tampering, how highly, like, a lot of people love these growth stocks like TTCF and Open Door. What do you say to investors that want to invest in growth stocks while they're tampering? Do you think you should just wait and find a better time to do it, or do you think it's going to drastically change the game when it comes to investing in these newer companies?
Probably because new companies like cheap money to borrow, right? Like if the interest rate is super low, they can borrow a lot, and that can help a new company grow and expand and spend money on research and development, new products, maybe acquisitions. Like, it can help a new company when they have that access to cheaper money. If they raise the interest rates significantly, then you're talking about a lot of big companies that might not be able to withstand this because they're new. They don't have revenue. They have to borrow. They have to take on debt. So people always look at a balance sheet and they go, oh, this new company has debt. Well, that's not always the worst thing, because it takes money to make money. But it could be a problem. I'm sure if you look at the last time we had like inflation and rising rates, I'm sure you could find data on a lot of growth companies that got knocked off and never came back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why it's also someone in my Amir is saying you're asking a lot of great questions. It's also why it's important to pay attention to this kind of stuff, and know how markets move and react to stuff like this, because when they do raise interest rates, you want to be able to put your money in stuff that maybe is boring, like dividend paying stocks, like food stocks, who makes like Kraft and stuff like that, Johnson and Johnson, Procter and Gamble, Pepsi, Coke, all these, like, all the companies that have been around forever. They have tons of cash. They can withstand these storms. And then we'll see what companies get shaken out, and what companies go out of business, and what companies don't exist in the future. But I wouldn't, I think people have to be a little cautious when it comes to growth stocks, but I wouldn't be super worried unless you're investing in something that's high risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, in your opinion, if a college student had $100,000 saved up, your first $100,000 they made, what would you tell a college student to do with your money the way you wish you would have if you had $100,000 at that age?
I would invest it. I would invest it in a lot of dividend paying stocks. 100,000 isn't, I guess it depends where you live, but having the removing the stress of a home and mortgage and all of that stuff would be huge. So I would say, if I was a college student, I would look for some sort of affordable housing, like a studio apartment. But I don't know that you could get an apartment for that for $100,000, and then rent it while you're in college, get that income. Or if you couldn't do that, I would invest it. I would invest it in index funds. I would invest it in some dividend-paying stocks. I would put a little bit in crypto, and then I would have some money left over. Just, it's 100,000. Then I would have a little bit in savings, just to, I wouldn't spend it all at once. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
and
take that 100 grand and just blow it all right away.
yeah, absolutely. Like I don't have 100 grand in cash, but what would a good recommendation be for like how much do you think you should put into an emergency fund? So like for me, I work a part-time job, make a small amount of money compared to what I'm going to make when I graduate. What would you recommend as kind of like a safety net that you should try to develop before you start making the money as an
Right.
emergency?
So they say anywhere between 6 months to a year. Um, I'm on the side of better safe than sorry. So I would always say just have a little bit extra, especially if there's a job. If there's like an economic slump and jobs are hard to get, then you might have a 6 month rainy day fund. But hey, if no one's hiring for over a year, or there's a situation like COVID where maybe you've just graduated college and you don't have time to get a job before something hits, and you're now stuck at home for a year without a job. Um, you might wish that you had more than 6 months. 6 months might not cover it. So I would say err on the side of caution and have a year. I know that's probably really hard for a lot of people to do, especially if they're graduating from college, and they have debt. And then they have to get a job, and they have to get a home, and they have to get a car and renting a place. I know it can be hard to save for that, but that's also why I'm such a big fan of living below your means. And weighing every purchase that you make. Do you really need that new PlayStation 5? Do you really need that new watch or gadget or whatever? Or could that go into your investments or your rainy day fund?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, is there? Do you believe there's any like when it comes to like Roth IRAs? I started one a little bit ago. I just haven't put too much money into it yet. But is there any situation where you would recommend someone to pull out money from the Roth IRA to put into something else, or do you suggest just to kind of let that stuff sit?
I would just let it sit. That's why you have it. I mean, I wouldn't. I think the most important, like in order of importance, would be like paying off debts or very high interest, like credit cards or medical bills and stuff like that. Then having your rainy day fund, and then investing, because you can do it in reverse and have a lot of investments, but the investments go down 6 or 12 or 15%, and you don't have any income because you don't have a job. And then you're selling your investments at a loss to cover your expenses. So I would always go with not selling anything in your Roth IRA. You can. There are exceptions where you're not penalized, like to buy a house or emergency medical things. But I would look at that as an absolute worst case scenario, because the whole point of having the Roth IRA is for your retirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple of my followers, they were pointing out that cryptocurrency currently right now is larger than $2.5 trillion market. Where do you think? Do you think it goes higher in the next 25 years from where today we sit today?
That's a good question. I know it's going to go higher, but will it have a big pullback first? Like will it drop 30 or 40% and then level out for a while? Like there's a lot of hype in crypto right now, and people are super excited about it. And you see these, you can stake your crypto for like unbelievable amounts of money on some of these things. You can't put 10,000 in a bank and get 6 or 8% or 10%, but you can stake some crypto and get 10%. Um, I think that's a lot of excitement. I think that's a lot of people who are new to this. They're super excited, um, and I think there will be a pullback at some point. I don't know how big it'll be. I don't know how much this stuff will drop. I don't know if you know government regulations will hurt it so much that it never, I don't want to say never recovers, but just plateaus for a very long time. But I see these things long term being big players, especially with like the metaverse and all that stuff and NFTs. I think we're just I think we're at this I think we're at like the very ground floor. Even still, we're at like the ground floor with a lot of this stuff. And a lot of it will get, a lot of these coins will cease to exist, and a lot of stuff will, you know, the 10% staking things will probably mellow out after a while. But I think, yeah, I see it having a higher market cap 25 years from now for sure.
That'd be cool. And then, do you personally own any NFTs?
No, I don't own any NFTs at the moment. Um, you
I
know,
just bought one the other day. I bought this digital racehorse.
yeah. Does it have? Is it just the art, or is there any sort of utility?
There's a game that it's called a Zed Run, and you can like race it and it can win money.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of NFTs from an art standpoint, and I also like the idea of NFTs in terms of like the gaming stuff like that. And also, I did you see that AMC just just released like 86,000 NFTs for the Spider-Man movie. Like if you were one of the first 86,000 to grab a ticket to this movie, you got a custom NFT. Um, Seth Godwin, I don't know if you follow him, but he did a video on that. I think that could be huge long term. Special release NFTs for concerts. They give like they have like T-shirts that say like I was there with the dates on the back. They could do it with NFTs, or they could have a special song, or the NFT could be a recording of the concert that you attend. Like they could do so much. They could do so much. I think it's just getting started, but I don't own any currently, but I'd like to.
Yeah, I just bought one for the fun. It was like $50. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna buy it. Just hold on to it. And then the one that's my profile picture, it was like a free airdrop for like $2, and it was just like a cool looking alien dude.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right.
Why not?
Yeah. And then let's see here. What? Almost here. Oh, and then when you trade, what percentage or how much money do you usually like keep on the sidelines for like any potential dip like in your trading account?
I keep like it fluctuates all the time because of like if I'm in a lot of trades or if there aren't a lot of trades, anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40% in cash. But it does fluctuate because I trade frequently. Maybe not the last couple of weeks and months have been really really slow, so I'm sitting on more cash than I normally would. But the numbers change all the time, so sometimes I have a ton. Other times I look and I go, wow, there's so many opportunities here for trades, and I get in and then I have no cash. I mean, not none. I always keep like some 15-20% in cash, but I try not to go below that, just so I have money in my reserves for adding to a trade. Sometimes I buy something on the way down and it drops a little bit lower, so I'll average down. Other times, I want some money there for an investment too. If I see an opportunity to add to an investment, if the markets are dumping like they did today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing. I today it went up a bunch in the morning, and then towards the day it just tanked.
I know. I was watching it. Like I've been, my trades have been kind of quiet these last few weeks, and I haven't been making too many trades. But like I've been like kind of like maybe, and then I like wait and watch, and I'm like nope, and then so today I was like, oh, we're coming back up. Maybe it's, and then it just started to like steadily.
Yeah.
It was down like 250, 300, and then 4, and then 6, and I was just like, forget it. I don't even look sometimes.
Oh yeah. So sometimes you just gotta shut the computer.
Yeah.
And then, do you have a favorite stock at all? If you had to choose one out of every stock in the world,
In terms of investing or trading,
investing like long term.
Apple. Apple's my favorite. I've had it since 2003. And I wanted, so like, I don't know if your followers are too familiar with me, and I have some new followers too, so maybe they don't know. Do you know my Apple story?
Oh, no, not specifically.
Okay, so in 2003, I graduated high school and I got an Apple laptop as my gift. Like my graduation gift was like their new laptop. And I looked around and like all my friends had iPods. Like the iPod had just come out. Everyone had an iTunes account. And I was like, this thing is everywhere. Like Apple is suddenly everywhere. So I called my mom's stockbroker because it was 2003. And I had $3,000 in my savings account, and Apple was like $9 a share. And I was like, I want to buy 300 shares of Apple right now at $9. And he was like, you are wasting your money. This is a computer company. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen to music on a computer. You're wasting your money. And like a week later, it was like $12. And I called him back and I was furious. And he was like, why don't you just get 100 shares? And then it went up to like 90, and then they did a split. And then it went up to like 200 or something. And then the housing crisis happened in 2008, and it went from 220 or 250 down to $69. And I called him in like a panic. And I was like, what do I do? He was old. Most of his clients were old. I was probably his youngest client, and he was like, sell it, take your money. And I panicked, and I was like, okay, do it, sell it. So we sold Apple at $69, which in that time was the low. Like it never went lower than that. And then it went straight up to like in the 700 or 800s, which made me sick. And then they did another split, and that's when I bought it at $90 a share after their split. So I've had Apple for a really long time, like on and off. I love it. Facebook I've also had since their IPO. I mean, people don't like the guy and they don't like the company, but it's been a good stock for me.
Yeah, I don't like Mark Zuckerberg. He's not my favorite, but the more that I think about it, I think Facebook could be the next stock that moves like Tesla did over $1,000 over the next like 10 years. You know what I mean?
Well, I think especially with this metaverse and like, even if NFTs don't catch on big time, like outside in like the broader area, in this metaverse, they could be huge. You can buy, stuff for games. You can buy outfits for your digital persona or whatever they call it. So I think Facebook will probably be the big leader in this metaverse, just because it's the website that most people are familiar with. There might be other metaverse companies that you can get into, but the majority of the people, they know Facebook. And even though they have this scandal right now with the privacy and stuff, these things are normally forgotten. I mean, airlines crash and people go, I'm never flying on Delta again because their plane just crashed. And then 2 years later, there's a really good deal on a vacation, on an airplane, on a trip on a Delta. And you're flying Delta because it's a good deal. So I think 10, 20 years, I don't know, who even knows if Zuckerberg is still going to be at Facebook, in 10 or 15 years. He might be off doing something else.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I feel like the metaverse, I've been telling my girlfriend this over and over again. She thinks it's so weird, and I'm telling her it's like it's our parents and the internet, right? They thought it was bad, they thought it looked weird, they didn't really know a lot about it. And I feel like a lot of people that are my age and even your age are looking at this metaverse and they're having the exact same mindset towards what they did with the internet.
Sure. And those are the people who are going to miss out on maybe huge profit. I mean, it's the same people with Bitcoin, before these last few years, when Bitcoin was like this digital currency and people were like, computer money? No. And then it goes from like, a couple thousand to like 20,000, and everyone's like, shit. And then all of a sudden they start, and then, the higher it gets and the more like mainstream attention it gets and legitimacy, like the crypto.com arena, all of a sudden people start noticing. They see commercials on TV, and they're getting in very late because they dismissed it in its infancy, when all the younger people were like, this Bitcoin could be something. The older people were like, nah. So investing and trading also, I think, kind of keeps you younger. I mean, I'm not old, I'm 36, but like it keeps you young. You look around, what are people buying? It was like me with Apple. In when I was 18, I was like, everyone's got this. You look around, you see like, what is everyone on? Everyone's on Snapchat. I mean, this was before like Snapchat maybe has fizzled in the last few years.
Yeah.
I started noticing everyone was on Snapchat. Snap me. And I was like, let me look at the stock. I bought it at 20. I sold it at 60. I think it's in the 50s now. And maybe people don't use it as much as they did. But you don't know which social media app or whatever is going to lead the future. Maybe it's Snapchat. Maybe it's Twitter. Maybe it's Facebook. Maybe it's TikTok. I personally I invested in all of them. I bought stock in every single one. I made money in all of them, but none of them really did what Facebook did and is continuing to do. Twitter kind of whatever, Snapchat, whatever. But Facebook was the main event in terms of social media stocks.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just think Facebook it's getting killed for no reason, and I feel like it's almost time to scoop up a few shares.
Yeah, I was looking at it today. It was down like $10, right? It was down. I don't know what percentage that is, like 2 or 3%.
Yeah, I think it's because they're like leader in the metaverse project stepped down or something, or is moving to a different company.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine. Like that's an opportunity to buy. It's not an opportunity to sell. I mean, I know Wall Street likes to drive down prices so they can scoop up more. It's all a fear campaign. You know, you turn on the news and they're like, "This is horrible news for the stock," and then the very next day they're like, "This is great news for the stock." It's just you know,
yeah.
yeah.
And then let's see here. And then what's your opinion on like for example, Microsoft, one of their co-owners or one of their large investors sold 50% of their stake. Like,
Well,
what do you situation where you're in a company and their large investors or large holders in the company sell shares? Do you use it as an opportunity to buy more, or do you just kind of wait it out and kind of let it fizzle out until it starts to move a little bit?
I guess. Well, I'm not familiar with this Microsoft situation. I don't know why she sold it. You know, it could be a variety of things. I mean, maybe she just wanted a new mega yacht and mansion. You know, a lot of
Yeah,
the time a lot of the time they sell $10 million worth of stock in a company, and everyone's like, "Oh no, oh no!" They just wanted a new private jet, and they were selling some shares to buy their jet. It's not because Wall Street always frames it like they're selling shares. Yo, something's going on here. Maybe they know something we don't know.
yeah,
Maybe they just wanted a new jet. It can also be, that they know something that they're not supposed to know, that that we don't know yet, and they're acting on insider info. It can be a lot of things. So I guess the way I would answer that is I would read the news and I would see what's going on with the company. I'd look at their earnings. I would look to see if things are slowing down. Maybe they, you look for signs like slowing growth, mounting debt. Maybe they've cut dividend. Maybe they have a lot of analyst downgrades, and then you see someone selling some shares. Then maybe you step back and go, let me wait and see what happens here. Let me wait for things to settle down. Um,
yeah,
or it's just a quick story on the news, and it's a great opportunity to add to your position. It depends a lot.
yeah, absolutely. And then, do you have like a favorite cryptocurrency at all?
Um, I mean, I like I can't remember. It's VeChain is the one that's like helping clean up the oceans, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
I think so.
VeChain's thing? It's either I think it's VeChain. Someone in my comments will tell me. I don't know if Allie is still in here, but she'll tell me if it is. I like that. Oh, she just joined. Is is VeChain the one that cleans up oceans? Yeah, I like Ethereum. I mean, I like a lot of these different projects. Nobody knows, outside of the big ones, outside of the Bitcoins and Ethereums and stuff, HBAR and stuff like that. Oh, is it HBAR? That's the ocean one, or is it VeChain? I can never remember. Um,
I think there's an ocean chain too. I'm not really sure. I think I see them in the comments every once in a while.
yeah, I've seen some ocean ones too, but I don't know. Yeah, I like Ethereum. Um, Ethereum is probably my favorite. I don't know if Bitcoin has. Mm, I'm
That's
gonna go with Ethereum. I'm gonna go with Ethereum.
yeah.
Vet. Allie says that it's Vet that I'm thinking of is the ocean one.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I think I gone over everything except
You've done it all.
Alibaba. What are your opinions? I personally think it's a story that's too good to be true. But what do you think about Alibaba and some of these other Chinese companies?
Too good to be true. Like how do you mean? Like this big sell off that you think it's all over for this company, or?
Oh, I think like just with so many change, we just so much uncertainty. You don't know. Like there's apparently regulations that change. Their profit margins could have changed. Like a bunch of large. Like it just went crazy. It went from like 420 to like 120. You know.
Yeah, they've gotten crushed. I don't know too much about Alibaba because I don't really pay a lot of attention to these Chinese stocks because they can be so heavily manipulated. Like Luckin Coffee, you remember Luckin was going to be the next Starbucks. Like people at my gym were coming up to me like, you got to buy stock in Luckin Coffee. It's going to be the Starbucks of China. You got to buy it. And I did. I bought a bunch. It went way up. I sold it, and then it dumped. And I honestly, I wasn't selling it because I was like, these Chinese companies are suspicious. I just was like, wow, I made a lot of money really quick. I'm out. That was the only reason I sold. And then it dumped, and then all this fraud allegations, and they were cooking the books, and they were lying about numbers. And then China also has their issues. Like you said, there are always new regulations and new things happening over there. So, I don't think it's done. Maybe it'll level off for a while. But at the moment, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, I maybe to buy around 100, maybe a few shares. We'll see. And
Yeah,
then
I would have to see what happens with the company and all the issues that they're facing right now. Plus also the supply chain stuff and COVID and getting these orders out and you know Biden wants to do a lot more stuff like made in America. So that could impact things maybe a little bit. I don't really know how much it'll impact it, but it could. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm staying away from Baba for now.
yeah, one really interesting play I've been looking at that I'm thinking about possibly getting more Zoom.
I like Zoom.
So with this new variant going around this time of year last year when the variant was going around, all the schools decided to go back fully online for a certain amount of time. When they go online, what are they using? They're using Zoom.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
I think I think we're gonna see it like they say like, oh, we're coming back to the office. No, wait, we're not coming back to the office. I live in DC, and it was at a couple of months ago it was like, okay, you can take your masks off, and then 2 weeks later they were like, no, put them back on. Now they've said take them off again. They said take the mask off last week. Then a week
yeah,
later, here comes this new strain, and I'm sitting here going like I know they're gonna say put them back on. I know it. And so we see so much uncertainty with stuff like this that I'm sure these offices that are saying, no, we're going to come back to the office at a certain point. Oh, nope, new strain, maybe not. That after a while, some of these companies are just going to say, fuck it, stay home. And it's better. It's better. It's better from a business standpoint. You can have a smaller office. You don't need to have a 10,000 square foot office or 10-story building. You can have a small place where you can say like come in once a week, or we're going to have a monthly meeting in person or whatever. I think, and these stocks like Zoom and the Teladoc stocks, like these work from home stocks, every time there's a new variant, they pop. Everything else goes down, but the work from home stocks always go way up. I think we're going to come to a point maybe soon where a lot of these companies just say screw it, work from home forever. So yeah, I think Zoom. I think we're going to see it from schools too. I think we're going to see a big shift to online school, like I guess homeschooling in a sense, but it'll be through Zoom. I think there's going to be a lot of big changes, and I think a lot of these work from home stocks they won't become work from home stocks. They'll just become like the norm. Like this is how we do things now.
yeah. One big company that I don't really talk about a lot because my dad works at the company is under the ticker Info. It's IHS Market. They
Okay.
just got bought out by S&B Global, and they gave every employee the option to go into the office if you want, stay
Yeah.
home permanently. And I think we're going to see. I agree. I think we're going to see more of that.
Yeah, I think, and they might offer options. They might offer options. If you want to come to the office, you can. If you don't, you don't have to.
Yeah, metaverse will make a play in that. That instead of going to the office, you'll go to the office in the metaverse.
That would be cool. Yeah, you could do a whole bunch of things. Yeah, someone in my Amir is saying it's going to be a hybrid. It could be a lot of things, but I think that these stocks like Zoom will definitely benefit from that. I think it'll be going forward. I think this will be kind of like the new normal. I have friends who work in big tech companies, and they have big jobs at big tech companies, and they're all work from home. They can come in if they want, but you
Yeah.
know, They don't. I mean, maybe if they have like a big project or something where they need to be in person, they'll go in. But for the most part, they can. They don't even have to be in the state in a lot of these cases. They can just go from wherever they want. They can work at night if they want. They can work during the day if they want. If they have kids, they can be with their kids during the day, do their job at night. There's a lot of big stuff happening. So it's definitely super interesting.
Yeah, I feel like the metaverse could just open up a whole different avenue. Like, for instance, like our legal system. There's flaws within the legal system in some circumstances. In some circumstances, it's all solid and packed. But you think like the metaverse could actually play a role in like artificial intelligent judges in trying cases instead of like normal human beings?
It could, I always thought that there would be like a like an I guess not like an artificial intelligence kind of teacher, but like you know, you could have online education, one teacher teaching to 10,000 students, uh, if they're all work from home, and that could be interesting or terrifying. I don't really know. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that we could see artificial intelligence step up and do a lot of these jobs, especially as the technology gets better. A lot of this technology is still in its infancy, and it sucks right now. And you look at it right now and you go, well, this is terrible. But don't be so like short term in your thinking. You got to think as technology improves, a lot of this stuff will, you're talking to a robot now when you call your bank and the robot voice comes on. You might not be able to tell in a couple of years that you're talking to a robot. It could be that, advanced.
Yeah, have you seen there's an artificial intelligence like creator on YouTube that has like millions of followers, and it's like an AI robot, like imaginary. It's crazy. You should check it out. Look
What's it
up like
called?
I don't even know. I saw it on some TikTok, but just look up like artificial intelligence content creator on YouTube, and it's like this virtual person that have millions of followers.
Okay, I'll check it out for sure. I think that's a very interesting space in the future. And I also wonder about job loss too. How many of these lower income or lower wage jobs are going to get completely obliterated because of robots and artificial intelligence? I mean, especially from a company standpoint. Why would you need to pay a fleet of workers who are late and they can be sick and they can cause problems? And, if you fire someone, you have to train a new person and that can cause problems. Why would you go through all of that if you could just hire robots? And it's interesting, and from an investor standpoint, I'm intrigued. But from a economic, and jobs thing, it's a little concerning. Like, what are so many of these people going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Kenan, thank you so much for doing this today. I think I'm gonna get going.
Absolutely.
Get ready for bed. Get ready for tomorrow morning.
Very good. Thanks, Joey. This was fun. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
You too, man. See ya.